So there's a reason why a lot of musicians are broke and stuck in a cycle of poverty. And it really comes down to 4 simple reasons. So in this video, I'm going to tell you the 4 main habits that are keeping you broke as a musician and how to overcome them. So let's get to it. Hey, and welcome to Music Space. Here we help working musicians monetize their craft. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on new videos. Now, the first thing that's keeping so many musicians broke is their unwillingness to adapt. So a lot of us musicians and artists have a lot of these sort of self-defeating, limiting beliefs about things and how they should operate and what shouldn't be in the music industry and all of these things. And it's cool to have some of those things. I mean, in principle, at least, it's really good to have standards and stuff that we operate by. But what happens is a lot of times, a lot of these belief systems and stuff that we have limit us from progressing and going further and getting better in what we do. So for example, like the whole debate over whether or not you should be using backing tracks when you perform. And the truth of the matter is that a lot of professional artists, even signed artists, when you see them on tour, they're using backing tracks. With these $1 million setups and performances that they're using backing tracks because they want to give their audience a particular type of experience. And of course, that doesn't mean that you should be using backing tracks, but you should at least recognize that backing tracks and their use in particular ways have become a sort of dominant part of performance in the way that bands and artists perform. And backing tracks is really just one example of that, but really the unwillingness to adapt to new things in general, new types of music and performing newer music and stuff like that. A lot of bands don't do that and they get stuck in tradition, so they get left behind. And you will really get left behind if you don't do this next thing that tends to keep a lot of bands and musicians broke, and that is investing in your career. And in particular, not investing in your own self and your own growth and your continual learning and things like that. This is something that happens with so many of us musicians. Like, we get to this point to where we feel like we've arrived or something. And what's tricky about it though is that, you know, some of us get there and, you know, we are there, like we're the best at our game and stuff like that. But what we tend to forget is that, you know, time moves on, and when we stop, new musicians come along, younger musicians, you know, older musicians who are still learning, and that first place starts to come second, third, fourth, fifth, and then you get left behind really quickly, especially in a society now where trends and stuff like that move really, really quickly. You can get left behind, and this is one of the reasons that a lot of musicians stay broke. In a lot of ways, you really just become irrelevant. And that leads into another way that a lot of musicians stay broke, and that is not diversifying their income streams. This is something that keeps a lot of us just stuck and broke. Like, we still depend on these $100 gigs to make it by and try to make a career out of. I've talked about this quite a bit before, but you can do the math on this. Let's just say you worked 2 nights a week, Friday and Saturday night, for an entire year with $100 gigs. And at the end of that year, you've only made about $10,400. And I could stop there and you could recognize that that's not a lot of money, especially in today's economy where, you know, a carton of eggs costs $10 or $12. But you subtract your gas money that you did going back and forth to the gigs, the gas money that you used to do the rehearsals, the maintenance of your equipment, the food that you had to buy when you were coming and going to the gig, you know, at the fast food places that we tend to eat at, and all of that kind of stuff. And you have a fraction of that $10,400 left. So you cannot depend on that. It's one of the reasons you hear me preaching all the time about starting a YouTube channel and growing a fan base so that you have other streams of income coming in, where you have a support system, where you don't have all of your eggs in one basket, where it's just like these types of gigs and this is all you have and this is what you're depending on trying to make it, and, you know, trying to make it in the industry. You're going to be broke like that. If you're a band, artist, or musician looking to make some serious passive income and grow a huge fan base, I'm advising all bands and artists and musicians like this to start a YouTube channel today. And that's because right now, YouTube continues to be the biggest growth opportunity for bands, artists, and musicians to gain a huge following and make lots of money. And because of this, I've created the YouTube QuickStart course. This course is specifically designed to get you up and running and making money and growing a huge fan base on YouTube really quickly and easily. And the best part is it's completely free and you can get instant access to it at the link in the description of this video. Now, the next thing is something that I see a lot of musicians complain and talk about and deal with, and that's really just not having a good understanding of your fan base, if you even have one. So a lot of musicians have this disposition where they get mad and angry because not a lot of people support them, and they try to do what they can do. They put out stuff. They complain that, hey, nobody watches my videos. When I put out a new piece of music, nobody listens to my music and all of this kind of stuff, right? Pretty much kind of blaming the audience for not liking them and not accepting the responsibility that you probably just don't know your fan base or don't even have a fan base like you think you do. And the thing about that is that in today's world and today's economy and all of that kind of stuff, you need a really, really good understanding of what it is that you offer as a musician, as an artist, as a band, and who is the best target market for what you offer. One of the things I talk about a lot is that how audiences these days are more tribal than they were 15, 20 years ago. They don't just jump on your train, get on your bandwagon because you put out a piece of music. It's like, so what? There's millions of other people who do the same thing. What they will support you for and what they'll get on your train for, or your tour bus, so to speak, is when you have something that you can offer them of value. When you position what you do as a valuable sort of commodity that they can have and they exchange their time for, that's when they'll support you. But it really just means that you should position whatever your artistry is, whatever your talent is, you need to position it, package it in a way that is a valuable asset to other people. So an example that I give all of the time is, let's just say you're a jazz pianist. You're a jazz pianist. You can't just say jazz pianist because there's billions and millions of people who will call themselves that. But what if you package what you do and say, hey, I'm a jazz pianist that provides, say slow jazzy music to help relieve stress from people, right? You see how that's packaging what you do as something that is a commodity to someone else? It's making it valuable to them. So this is something that we musicians have to learn to do. And that's what goes into understanding our fan base. And it's one of those things that when we don't do it, it keeps us broke. And when it comes to money, that's a whole big ball game. And it's such an important subject that I've done a whole entire series of videos on it. And you can check those out right here, right now.